Chicago, drop what you're doing, because this one just landed. Two more names, two real, legitimate, difference-making arms, have suddenly been pulled into the Cubs' trade deadline orbit, and this time, it's not just noise. This is coming from a national insider, someone with direct sourcing inside war rooms across the league. One of these two pitchers is quietly sitting on one of the best ERAs in all of baseball. The other one? Teams around the league are being described as, quote, salivating over the idea of landing him. Both are now tied to Chicago. And if either of these deals gets done before Monday, it changes everything about how this Cubs pitching staff looks walking into October. Stay with me, because I'm breaking down both names, the full asking price, and why the clock on this thing is now down to just hours. Before we get into it, first off, thank you. Genuinely. The response to our very first video on this channel was more than I could have asked for, and seeing so many of you already commenting, subscribing, and sharing it around means everything for a channel that's just getting off the ground. So if you're new here because of that first video, welcome to the family. And if you're back for round 2, I appreciate you more than you know. Now, real quick, I want to know who's actually watching this. Down in the comments, tell me 2 things. How long have you been a Cubs fan, and where in the world are you watching this from right now? I want to see just how far this Cubs family actually reaches, so don't be shy, drop it below. And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tap like before we get into the news. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel more than you'd think. Okay, let's get into today's report. Quick refresher on where things stand. The Chicago Cubs are 62-47, sitting second in the National League Central, 5.5 games back of Milwaukee. But they are holding the top wildcard position in the National League right now, which means, as of today, this team is a playoff team. The problem, and we've talked about this before, is pitching. 30 injured list stints this season, 26 of them pitchers. Cade Horton done for the year. Justin Steele still rehabbing. Ben Brown and Edward Cabrera both out right now. Jameson Taillon already designated for assignment. This front office has one job left before Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Find arms and find them fast. So let's start with name number 1, and I want you to picture this. A pitcher who, before an injury sidelined him for a chunk of the season, was putting up numbers that looked like a Cy Young contender. We are talking about a sub 2.5 earned run average. A pitcher who, across his healthy stretch this year, posted a 2.39 ERA and a ridiculously tight 1.10 WHIP. That is elite, front of the rotation production. This is New York Mets right-hander Clay Holmes. Now here's why this connection makes so much sense for Chicago. The Mets, by every account, are gearing up for what insiders are calling a full-on flash sale before the deadline hits, and Holmes is expected to be one of the headline chips they move. He's 33 years old, he's working his way back from a fractured fibula, but reports say he could realistically be ready to pitch again within days, right in time for a new team to plug him straight into a playoff rotation. And get this, some insiders are floating the idea that if he looks right in his final tune-up start, Clay Holmes could be Chicago's Game 1 starter in October. Let that sink in for a second. The financial piece matters here too. Holmes is playing on a very team-friendly contract, with a modest $12 million player option that he's widely expected to decline in favor of free agency this winter. Translation? For Cubs purposes, this is essentially a 2-month rental at a bargain price, without the front office having to gut the farm system the way they might for a true ace. One insider straight up predicted it directly. Clay Holmes traded from the Mets to the Chicago Cubs before the deadline hits. If that report is accurate, this rotation gets a jolt of postseason caliber production without breaking the bank. But here's where things get even more interesting, because Clay Holmes isn't the only name in this story. There's a second player, and this one has league executives using words like salivating. I'm talking about a 27-year-old right-hander who is quietly having a full-blown breakout season, a pitcher some national insiders are now calling, and I'm quoting this directly, easily the most prized young starter on the market. That is Seattle Mariners right-hander Emerson Hancock. Let's talk about why this name has suddenly exploded onto Chicago's radar. Hancock is sitting on a 3.16 earned run average across 19 starts, with a tight 1.006 WHIP, and his strikeout rate has jumped dramatically this season, climbing from the 16% range all the way up into the low 23s. That is a massive developmental leap, and it's exactly the kind of trajectory that makes a front office fall in love. But here's the number that really matters. Team control. Emerson Hancock isn't a 2-month rental. He is under club control all the way through the 2030 season. 4.5 more years of a controllable, ascending starter. For a front office that has said, over and over, that they're not just building for this October, that they're building for the next several seasons, this is close to a perfect fit. Now, nothing in baseball comes free, and this is where the story gets complicated for Cubs fans. According to a National Insider's sourcing, Seattle's asking price reportedly starts with outfielder Seiya Suzuki and could extend to include young infielder Matt Shaw as well. And look, I'll be straight with you. That is a real gut check for this front office. Suzuki is hitting near the top of his game right now, an OPS north of 835 on the season, an absolute cornerstone bat in this lineup. Trading him away in the middle of a playoff push just to fix the rotation is the kind of move that would spark a real debate across this entire fan base. Some insiders are already saying it plainly. A Suzuki-involved deal for Hancock might be a bridge too far, given how much this offense currently leans on him. So here's the fork in the road. On one side, you have Clay Holmes, a lower financial cost, a shorter-term rental, but immediate ace-level upside if he's healthy, with real Game 1 October potential. On the other side, you have Emerson Hancock, a much steeper prospect cost, potentially involving one of the most important bats in this lineup, but 4.5 years of a young, ascending, controllable arm that could anchor this rotation well into the future. Two completely different bets, two completely different visions of how you build a winner. And remember, this is all happening on top of everything else we've already been tracking. The Tarek Skubal sweepstakes still very much alive. Reed Detmer's still very much in play with the Cubs, reportedly battling the crosstown White Sox for him. And now Clay Holmes and Emerson Hancock added straight into the mix. This front office is genuinely engaging with almost every available arm on the entire market right now. That is not normal deadline behavior. That is a team that knows exactly how good this roster could be with the right pitching and is refusing to sit on its hands. There's also real momentum on the field backing all of this up. The Cubs have won 6 of their last 10 games. They're a strong 30-22 at home this season. And right now, tonight, they're hosting the New York Yankees at Wrigley for a 3-game series, with Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Cody Bellinger all sidelined on the injured list for New York. That is about as favorable a window as you could ask for heading directly into deadline day. A chance to add wins, build energy in that ballpark, and walk into Monday afternoon with real leverage. So here's my honest take. If I'm Jed Hoyer and I have both of these paths in front of me, I am moving hard on Clay Holmes first. Lower cost, immediate impact, real October upside, and it doesn't touch the core of this lineup. Then, if there's still runway left on the Hancock front, and Suzuki genuinely stays off the table, you explore it as a long-term second layer. But you do not sacrifice the engine of this offense in the middle of a playoff race just to chase upside for future seasons. That's my read. You may see it differently, and honestly, I want to hear it. So let's settle this in the comments. Between these two. Clay Holmes, the affordable, win-now rental with Game 1 stuff, or Emerson Hancock, the controllable young arm that could cost you one of your best hitters. Which move gets this team closer to a World Series? And again, don't forget, tell me how long you've been riding with this team and where in the world you're watching from tonight. I want to see this community come together as this channel grows. If this breakdown helped you get caught up, do me a favor before you head out. Hit subscribe, tap that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the second either of these trades becomes official. I'll be right back here the moment something breaks. Until then, Chicago, stay locked in. Go Cubs go.